Good morning, good morning. Welcome back. So I'm going to get started by introducing the Zoho Marketplace and as the repository of solutions for all applications that extend Zoho applications. So I'm going to discuss that. The marketplace has been around for about a year and a half. It's still early at Zoho. And so we're seeing more momentum now as people are building, developers like you and partners are building applications for it. Okay, so let me take you through that. So a little bit of a premise for this whole thing. So why are we even doing all this? After all, didn't Zoho tell you that we have more than 35 apps? So what are we trying to do? Develop even more stuff, right? So the point is, there are times when your app doesn't do exactly what you want. You want ways to program your software. You want ways to do things for you and the way you want it. You want it to connect to applications from other non-Zoho people and so on. So that's why we have this whole approach to extend capabilities. So how can you extend capabilities for Zoho apps? So I'm going to start with the simplest idea here, the notion of extensions. So you actually know what this is. Let me quickly introduce what a couple of examples. So here's an example of one. Let's say you're hosting an event, like this. You're hosting an event, or maybe a smaller one. And what you want to do, it's a lead sharing event. It's a lead generation event, right? So you're hosting an event, you want to capture attendees, you want to know, then you want to take that information, track it through in your CRM, and be able to follow up with that, make sure these prospects are attended to, and you can attach them to your email campaigns and so on. So you might have decided that you're using, say, Zoho CRM. And you might have picked Eventbrite as one of the third-party applications to do your event. So that's an example of how we can hook capabilities of two software platforms together. So how would you do this? This is actually a screen. Maybe it's not that clear. It's an Eventbrite screen. So it tells you, essentially all you need to know is, don't worry about the details. All you need to know is you're planning the event there, you're ticketing the event there, and you're knowing who's coming there. So what you need to do is, here's an example of how Zoho CRM is extended with Eventbrite. So right at the top here, you can see a module show up as Eventbrite, right? So it's right inside your CRM. So that's where the extension sits. So what does it do for you? It can sync in. You share your credentials between Eventbrite and Zoho CRM. It syncs in the information from your Eventbrite. It allows you to do a little bit more. So it allows you to pick the kinds of connections you're making in Eventbrite. So you could say the types of filter by events. You could decide where in the CRM you want this actually set up. So in this case, we're going to bring these connections back into contact, so you can set a few things up. And finally, here, this is a screen from the CRM. If you notice at the top, the contacts module has been selected. And once you've done the sync, the specific program you ran at Eventbrite, the contacts exported into CRM. Now, I'm not going to go further, but you can see what you can do with this now. Now you can run this through a marketing campaign, maybe 3 weeks later to engage with the people who came in and so on. Once again, you might use a campaign's capability within the CRM, or you might use a third-party product, in which case you'd have another extension at the other end, which would maybe connect into a MailChimp and take this information and drive it into a campaign, right? So that's the way you're going to basically create hooks to allow different applications you work together, that you use to work together. And typically these extensions, you can build an extension. We have college students who are building extensions for us. You can even go to the marketplace, Zoho Marketplace, where third-party people have built extensions, people like yourselves, developers and so on. And some of them are available for free, some of them are priced out. So that's the role of the marketplace that I'll touch about in a minute. So let's take another example. So this is a common one. I deal with this every day, actually. You work with your customer on a contract. And then you want to execute the contract. You want to get it signed. You want to get it executed. How do you go about it? Today, unusually today, even in today's online cloud world, a lot of this is still manual. Most people, when they deal with contracts, they do everything online. They generate online. They go through their legal advisors, everything online. Finally, they print it out, send it to whoever they need to, and wait for good old the postal mail to come and deliver the contract. So this is how it used to be done, and frankly, in some cases, we were still doing this. Some people insisted they wanted a fax to receive contracts and so on. So now, what you want to do is you want to bring it into the contract app, or whichever app you're using to actually generate the contract. So in this case, I'm going to show you a way this is integrated with our CRM. This is a picture of a Zoho CRM screen. On the top right hand, you can see a button, which is basically the extension. And this one is set up for DocuSign. As you know, Zoho introduced a product a few months ago called Zoho Sign, which is our equivalent of DocuSign. But nonetheless, you and our customers are free and welcome to use the products that make sense for you. And it's our job to make sure that you have connections and hooks into third-party products should you choose them. So here, this is an example of a DocuSign extension. So it's right there. What you notice is right there in your app. Let's say you're dealing with this particular contact and you're at the contracting stage. You've drawn up the contract. You know how to attach the contract into your CRM. You need to get it executed, right? So you click on that button, and here you have something a little more useful than simply mailing out a contract. So you can do a few things here. For example, in this case, I've shown you an example where a contract might need 3 people to have it signed. Maybe it's a complicated service order that you're working with a client, and so it has to go through 3 levels of authorization. So you could even set that up in using this extension and decide in what order it gets approved. Maybe there's a specific order in which this needs to get authorized. So things that are more convenient because you've actually captured this capability in software. Go back to providing a programming interface to your software here. So this is an example of tracking. So once you've set up your online signature, you've said these are the people who need to sign the contract, this is the hierarchy in which it needs to get signed, you can do something convenient, like set up a reminder a couple of days before. I've started using some of these capabilities now because people forget it. You get so much email, so many communication tools that you'd like all these things to take care of stuff for you automatically. You set up something that says on a certain date, you remind them that the contract needs to be signed, gets signed. So the point here is not to show you the details of DocuSign, but to show you how an external capability with a third-party app can be brought right into your primary app that you're using for CRM, and the contract process is executed without having you to, again, track another process through email or somewhere outside the system. That's the value of the extension. Third example, this is a bit more casual. So people, you might be having a conversation with some of your colleagues, you want to go out for lunch. So what do? So in fact, this is actually one of the use cases from our experience here. So we've integrated, on the left you see Zoho Click, and on the right-hand side is Yelp, which knows about restaurants and things like that. So here's an example of a screen. Don't bother trying to read it. This is the Click application. So there's some chat conversation going on. Maybe it's a team working on some project. Suddenly somebody thinks that they need to get some food and they're hungry, and instead of going out and finding something, they click. I'll expand this a bit. See at the bottom of the screen, they just type in a keyword, a slash command as we call it, which is /Yelp. And that's actually a little bit of software that goes out to Yelp and then finds out Chinese food in Pleasanton, brings it back to your screen like this, right there in the middle of your chat. Maybe you click on the first one, and then it shows you something about that restaurant, right? It's a little bit of convenience. Looks like a bit of a toy, but you can see the applications of this for other things that you might use. Let me pull this together and just summarize. So you've seen from these 3 examples of why this makes sense for the customer. A few things that are obvious. Zoho is not the only set of applications in the world. There are people who use other applications despite the 30-plus apps that we have. So you want to use that. And you use extensions because extensions are little units that can be built independently by somebody else and hosted in a marketplace such as the Zoho Marketplace. So you don't have to build it yourself. You can go and use what somebody else has done. For example, the Yelp integration into Click is something that we've built in, so you don't have to do that, right? Similarly, third parties could have built a DocuSign integration for Zoho Desk, or for Zoho CRM, and you can use that. It's oftentimes, in today's world with so many apps and so many communication things, you're forced to switch contexts a lot. And I personally actually find that challenging myself. I like to I'm working in one tool, maybe it's in a contract, maybe it's on some specific program design, and I just want stuff there. I don't want to get out of that, switch into CRM to get information or whatever it is. I just want things in that context because I'm familiar with it. So that's why I think this makes a lot of sense. You're on Click, you're on CRM, you don't want to go figure out another app, get used to a different UI, open another tab, lose context, get distracted in your email because you're going to find the contract there, read something else there, and lose track of what you're trying to do. So this is all about bringing it back into the context of what you're trying to do now. Obviously, the idea is also, it's our interest all the time to allow you as a customer or your customer, if you're a developer, to get the most out of Zoho's investment. And many times that means allowing you to work with other third-party applications. Okay, so I just want to share with you a distribution of all the the extensions we have on our marketplace today. So as I mentioned, this has been about a year and a half since we had the marketplace. Predictably, the predominance of extensions are in the sales marketing area. A lot of them in telephony because people like to integrate telephony into CRM. Just to give you an idea of distribution of the extensions. So let me generalize a little bit from what we've seen here. We've talked about product, and we've talked about a platform. A platform is a place where you can extend the product itself. And I'm going to introduce this concept of an ecosystem. An ecosystem is a platform, the product, and the people associated with it, and the applications associated with it. And you'll see this paradigm across the industry. So let me just touch on a few things. To basically get the product and evolve it into a platform, the product has to be fundamentally customizable, right? It has to be fundamentally extendable. There has to be a hook in the application that allows you to hook in an extension. Therefore, I can see that button on the top, which allows me to get to DocuSign, right? So you'll see this has been part of our strategy now for the last couple of years, making all our products extendable, so our products increasingly begin to look like platforms. So you could take a Zoho Desk, which is our help desk platform, and that's the latest product in which we're doing this. We're building an SDK around that. We're building capabilities around that so people can take the help desk platform as a product, convert it into their platform and use it for service management, tie in other things that they want to do, put in bits of programmable software that Sridhar was talking about on day one, so they can actually customize it and just make it work for their needs. So but the product fundamentally has to be extendable. Now, if you want to take the platform and make it into an ecosystem, the platform must create values for the primary participants. So that typically in an ecosystem, there are two sides, people building the extensions and the capabilities and the custom stuff, the developers, and then people who are consuming them, the customers. And so we have to build a system that works for both parties, tools for developers to build these extensions and new capabilities, and ways for customers to actually find them. So we've set up a bunch of developer tools. You can go to many of our websites now, product websites, and see tools. Then there's a marketplace which allows you to host the products of these tools. So when you build in these extensions, applications, and so on, you can put them in the marketplace. These three together really constitute the entire ecosystem. And you'll see many examples of this in the marketplace. This is a classic one from Apple, which all of you can recognize, one of the biggest ecosystems in the world today. On the right-hand side is the App Store, which is the marketplace. On the left-hand side is the developer system or the developer platform. You see parallels to this everywhere. Similar thing with Android. Chrome has developed into a platform as well, starting from just being a browser app. You see this obviously with G Suite. You see this with some of our competitors like Salesforce. And we have the same thing at Zoho now. We have a marketplace and developer tools. And let me introduce a little bit the Zoho Marketplace itself and give you an idea of what we're trying to accomplish here. So today we have a number of applications in the Zoho Marketplace, Zoho products that have extensions, customizations, in some cases verticalized applications, and so on. So these are a set of applications. The lead application in the marketplace is CRM. Most of the extensions are the CRM, but we're seeing many have started coming up with Creators, the next big one, and we see many others coming up for Desk, for Click, and other things. So the idea here is you can find applications associated with these Zoho apps that increase the value of these apps. So this is an example of a page from Zoho Desk, which is one of the latest products to transform itself into a platform. So this is the developer. This is just a page on the Zoho Desk website that shows you what's available for developers who want to build applications. A lot of people are taking a service desk application like Zoho Desk and transforming it into a service management tool. And so how do you do that? What are the things, what are the tools available to you? That's an example. Let me just give you a sense of what types of solutions exist in the marketplace and tell you how we actually think about it. So you have maybe a common framework for looking at it. I'm using three terms here to describe it. The first one is extensions. I've discussed that already. I think you get the flair for that. Little pieces of software that you can attach to an existing application to either connect to something else or extend the fundamental capability, right? Let me touch on the other two. there are custom applications, and as the name implies, it's something that's specifically built for a purpose. And then there are vertical solutions. So let me give you some examples of each of them. So here's a slide that gives you some sense. So extensions, let's look at this from the top. Extensions, basically, their focus is to take an existing Zoho product and make it do a little bit more. Good example was using contracts, allowing yourself to sign a contract inside a CRM. So that's the focus. Take it, make it do a little bit more. Those are some examples on the right-hand side. You can tie in Google Analytics to one of our products. You can bring in an extension for Eventbrite. I showed you the DocuSign one too. Now let's take the other two. A custom app or a vertical solution typically uses Zoho technology to build and solve a new and customized problem that one of our regular products is not best equipped to solve. So that's what it is. So it could be relatively simple. It could be exceedingly complex. So let me distinguish between the two. So with custom apps, what you're doing is you're actually using the Zoho platform to build an entire application. Here are some. There's a process control for a winery, and I'll share that example with you later. One of our customers has built a custom app to manage scheduling of courses. So they're managing resources of teachers, classes, students, and they want to tie it all together, plan it, schedule it, orchestrate a system that delivers courses to students, right? So what is an off-the-shelf application you can use for that? Really nothing. So they built something, or if you do find one, it's going to be really expensive. So they built one using Zoho Creator. Let me take an example from a vertical solution. So the vertical solution is the ability to take a Zoho platform, and right now vertical solutions are built around CRM. So what we've taken is we've taken CRM and we've built it up into a platform where you can make use of all of the underlying capabilities we have built, but completely customize it to an industry. Say in this example, you could have construction management or insurance, where you build it. The top modules don't look like CRM anymore. The term CRM doesn't exist. It could be privately labeled. It could be white labeled. You could build a solution out for your customer if you're a developer, and you can even price it out on your own. And it's a completely tailored app focused on, say, construction industry. So we have several examples of the last 2 years. We've seen somebody build this for solar power, for panels. And for the industry, because that's an industry that's growing rapidly, so they need to do sourcing, they need to do planning, they need to go to a facility, estimate what needs to be done. So they've built an entire system to manage the customers and execute their processes using the CRM platform. And think of it as a solar energy CRM or a solar panel installation CRM. So that's an example of a vertical solution. So you find all these three types of solutions in our marketplaces. So let me run through a couple with you. So this is an example of a custom app. So keep in mind that's the one in the middle. What the customer here has done with it is worked with Creator and built it into a custom solution. So let me give you a little bit of background. So some of you may have seen this case study. It's a video somewhere on one of our websites. And it's a winery not far from here that actually has built a process management application using Creator. So if I were to simplify their business for you, they procure grapes and then they produce wine. So they have, if you think of their business, they have three aspects to it. There's a procurement aspect, there's the process management aspect where they actually make the wine, and then there's a selling and distribution aspect where they distribute the wine, right? So you want a system, think of it as now what they would really need is a system to help them in the manufacture of wine. So can you use a regular CRM system to do that? Probably not, right? Because there's no process management is not part of it. Can you use our billing system to do that? Yes, but it's not connected to the process management system, right? So they've actually built an application. So what they did is they started with Creator, and I give you some ideas of what they've done. So these are some examples of capabilities that Creator already has, and many of them you've seen yesterday and the course of today. Forms, tables, ability to build something using a user interface, modeling a workflow, a blueprint that can tell you how a workflow should be modeled. And then they've brought in, think of the middle section there as domain specific. So what they actually want to do is they want to process orders, they want to manage inventory, and they want to actually do the process management for wine itself. So for example, they might be having a in the basement, the vats where they're checking temperature. They have an iPad, they're monitoring it. They want to get that information back into the wine processing app so they know what needs to be done and when the next stage is triggered. So all of that is the process management of it. But they can use capabilities of Creator to hook into to a portable device, or to manage a workflow based on some status change like temperature. So they can use the fundamental capabilities of the platform and use it for order processing, which is the front end, or the winemaking, which is the middle part, or the shipping and delivery, which is the back part, and build basically what would be a mini manufacturing system for a winery. In this case, this customer did it for their own personal winery, but it would be completely conceivable for someone to take on an app like this, build it, and make it available for an industry, or for a subset of the industry by designing it in such a way that a lot of the components are common and some things are customized for the specific customer. Let me take another example. So this is an example of a vertical solution. In this case, the solution was built on our CRM platform. Remember, I'm contrasting two things. I'm talking about building a solution completely on Creator. That's one direction, and that was a previous example. The second one is to take on the CRM platform and build a completely verticalized version of it. So this was an example of a real estate CRM. So if you look at from left to right, CRM gives you all these capabilities, a notion of a sales management process, a notion of an application framework. Again, an ability to model workflows, alerts, notifications, the kinds of things you want to in a relationship application. The middle is capabilities specific to that business, in this case, the real estate business. So for example, you want property listings. You want to be able to connect to some third-party platform like, say, Twilio. So, or you want to connect it with a third-party platform that actually gets you the real estate listings. Now, you probably want a module that manages your properties. Now, any CRM out of the box is not going to have that. But it's fundamentally got the capabilities, as you can see from the things that we've built up in our CRM, where you can actually start listing the products, listing the properties, connecting them into actions, building workflow around them, tying them to a specific customer or prospect, and so on. So that's an example. Another thing you might want to do is you might want to do documentation management, because you're a real estate company, it's very paper driven. You want to make sure that there's workflow that ties into all the execution documents when a deal gets done. Again, a normal CRM may not be set up to do that, but you can certainly build a module and tie it back into the CRM and have that capability presented to the real estate customer. So this is an example of using a vertical CRM, the CRM platform, to build something up. Other examples here, people have built it for real estate. People have built this for insurance. People have built this for, I mentioned, solar panels, and so on. So I'm just going to share a few screenshots from our marketplace. So this is the Zoho Marketplace. This is a screenshot of extensions. So you can see, again, I'm going through those three classes of applications I talked about. This is extensions. So you saw the one from DocuSign earlier. So you have GoToWebinar, Dropbox, common tools that people use. This slide is the one on custom apps. So these are applications that have been built on Creator. And the application developers have decided to put this on the marketplace because they are presumably general purpose applications, more than it's not built exactly for one customer, right? So if you had built your wine app, for example, to be applicable to multiple customers, you could put it on the marketplace and then provide a service capability for somebody who actually wants to customize it for their own business. So here you see examples like there's a schooling application, there's one for franchise management, again, something that can be used across multiple industries and so on. Third example is vertical solutions. These are things that have been built on the CRM itself. I talked about some of these. Travel agency, there's one for an auto garage. Suntrific, that's the one I mentioned, and so on. So that gives you an overview of the solutions you can build with Zoho, our strategy with the platform, and what we're trying to do with the marketplace.